I'm so excited. So this is the questions I have for you all today. And if you guys don't know, Gwen Valentino, she has her own business as well. And she is in New Mexico and she's been rocking it as a grant writer with municipalities mainly. So, so cool. And D, she is all the way in Spain now. Right? They living in Spain, all good. You got your dogs and your cats over there. You've moved your business virtually overseas. Was in California before, building up a business working with really small nonprofits. So very different lenses and all of that. So we can kind of get into that. But my first question, let's go ahead and start with you, Gwen, is what got you interested in grants and when did you open your business?
So I fell into it, which I think a lot of grant writers do. Like we just accidentally become grant writers. And I was in a very I had to organize a conference for 850 people in my little tiny town. And there's not even like enough hotel spaces for that. So I had to get really creative and think outside the box and do all this stuff. And after that conference, the city, the county, and the school in our town all offered me jobs. And I was like, what? Because I was a stay-at-home mom before that. And I was like, no, I'm not coming into the office. Like I homeschool my kids. I don't have time for that. And then the South Central Council of Governments reached out to me and they said, well, we need a remote grant writer and we'll train you. And I was like, all right, I can do that, right? Of course I can. So I started doing that. And guess what? They've never trained me, not one time. I've never been to any training. So I had to figure it all out on my own. And then I launched my business, my freelance business just in 2024. I think I found you in 2023 at the very, very end. And I launched January 1. I followed what you said to do. And I had 2 freelance clients before January 1. I was like, I don't open yet. Like, like I'm not ready for this. And it was like that commercial. They're like, open. I was just like, I don't wanna. And Holly, you were just like, just go for it. It'll be fine. So that was in January 2024. And yeah, it's all been sunshine and rainbows since then.
I love that. And so how long were you getting that, well, quote unquote training, not really training, but like that they hired you before you launched your business?
18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 6 years.
Okay, so you have been doing it, but then you're like, why don't I have another client? Was that kind of like your thought? Like, why do I just have the one? Or like, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, so I had 2 clients at that point, and one is like the South Central Council of Governments, which is I have a bunch of like cities and municipalities underneath their umbrella. And then another one was one of those cities reached out and I started doing extra work for them. So I had 2 little clients, but my mayor in my town has been mayor for 33 years. And I was afraid he was going to lose his election. And I thought if he loses his election, where's my job? Because most new mayors come in and they put their friends in these little like cushiony jobs.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to lose my job. And then I realized that my boss with the South Central Council of Governments had been there 38 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, if he retires and the mayor leaves, like I have no income like that fast.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go find how to do this for real.
I love for real.
And then I found you, and then it just went like, choo.
So good. And yeah, that's so, and your background too, you're like, you were a masseuse, right? Like you still have, like you came in like doing kind of, were you doing more like side kind of things so you could be a stay-at-home mom and all of those kind of things? And
no, I was a massage therapist before I had kids.
oh, nice.
And after I had kids, I just never could really go back to work. And then I was just a homeschool mom. So I'm like a jack of all trades, right? Because I had to learn everything right before I taught them everything. And so kind of it really sets you up for grant writing because you can literally be one step ahead and look like you know what you're doing. Yeah. Because my kids are rock stars and they think I'm the smartest person ever. And I'm like, of course I am.
You're like Googling the night before, how do you do this?
My gosh. Just yesterday, one of my daughter's friends is like, I need a website. And I was like, well, I heard there's one on Canva. So let me go figure out how to do that. And so today I'm like, here you go.
I love that about you, Gwen. You're just like such a like, okay, take action. Let's do it. And the thought process of it's not hard, like gets you through so much.
Right. I just think like if this is the hardest thing I ever do, then thank goodness I'm blessed.
Right, right. Love it, love it. All right, so let's get to D. D, same question for you. Like, like I love the origin stories. I always lead with this because they're so interesting. And as much as I know Gwen, look at, I'm just still asking questions like, oh, that was that on that time frame, like learning so much. So let us know, Dee, what was your origin story about how you got into grant writing when you started your business?
Right. Well, what Gwen and I have in common is the fall into it part. Fell into it, absolutely fell into it. And then our stories diverge in a big way, but it was COVID for me. All the organizations that I was volunteering with and people that I loved and those organizations, they weren't going to make it through COVID. And I had friends that had been in grant writing for 20, 30, 40 years. And, I knew who to ask and I knew who to go to ask, how can I help these organizations that I love and that I volunteer for? How can I help them weather this storm? And, they just kind of plug me in. I just basically ask, who do I need to know? What do I need to do? What kind of course do I need to take? And where can I start that will make the most amount of difference? And then I found that I had an instinct for finding low hanging fruit. I didn't really know that, but I learned it really quickly. I'm like, well, okay, I'm getting all this funding for all these different organizations. I'm asking friends, I'm getting feedback. I think maybe that was the biggest key was I ask a lot of questions. I'm like, if I don't know how to do something, I'm not really shy about saying, I don't know how to do this, but I want to do it. So tell me where I need to go to learn. It was during COVID and just helping those organizations. This wasn't professionally, this was absolutely pro bono or as a board member, still pro bono. But that was the germ, that was the seed. The surprise was after taking a couple of basic classes and doing more work and getting some funding under my belt and having several successful fundraisers during this COVID time period of working with primarily performing arts nonprofits who couldn't do their thing during COVID because everything was shut down, especially in California. I found that I loved the work. That was the big surprise. I'm like, I love doing this. I love being the person that walks into the room and everybody's glad to see them because they're going to get you money, right? And I kind of got hooked on that. And I love doing fundraising. So I think my gift is or what I've learned my gift is seeing a holistic picture of blended fundraising and how we can do this and that and get several different, at least 2 or 3 different irons in the fire to achieve results for especially a small nonprofit, one that hasn't never had grant funding for sure, or the original organizations that I worked with that never had grant funding. And they weren't really sure how to do fundraisers. They relied on ticket sales and ticket sales went away, or they relied on enrollments and enrollments went away. So now what do we do? And that led to the next thing, which led to the next thing.
Yeah, and I love that term, D, that you use, the blended fundraising. And we've been seeing more and more of that come into 2025 that we've been talking about as well. And I love that you've always kind of like anchored into that in your first kind of view into the grant writing world is coming from being a board member, right? On a small nonprofit and being like, so you have this lens that's a little different to say like, how do we make it work from a different angle? And I think that's really I think that's super beneficial. Like I know my work as being a board member too has been really beneficial in me being a service provider then, right? You're seeing kind of both lenses. Yeah. So good. And
this work.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
closing down.
Sorry, go ahead.
How do we make this work? How do we keep from closing down?
Yeah. How do you actually do it? Right?
Survive.
Yeah, I love that. And I love all of the ones that you've had. So let's talk about then what was some of your the biggest challenge then? We talked about like we fell into this, it was awesome, it started, but like what was the challenge, the biggest challenge when you first opened your business, or maybe something that's kind of persisted? Like what is that challenge? And let's start with you, Dee. Let's go back and forth here.
Yeah, well, I'm sure everybody can probably guess what it is. I didn't treat it like a business because it wasn't initially, right? It was helping people and it was giving away my time and giving of myself and being of service. And you can take that down the line. And I know we all know about what it is to want to help an organization and getting out of that skinny little branch of really that's all you're doing. And okay, how do I make a living at this? Because I'm giving myself away. Where's the balance? Is there any balance? I didn't have any balance. So at first for me, it wasn't about a business. It was wanting to be of service to the organization that I loved, organizations that I loved, and the people that I loved, and the missions that I believed in. So that was the biggest challenge, was embracing that I could do what I loved and work with people that I believed in and missions that I wanted to help advance while still being able to make a living wage of some sort. Well, I didn't know how to do that, but I had friends that did, and then I found you. So the timing was just perfect. About the time that I got my first friend asked me, hey, you're writing grants for all these organizations. Can I pay you to write grants for me? I said, sure. I say, yes, that's my first thing to say. And then I'm like, okay, I got to go figure this out because I don't know how to do this. I'm Googling online, trying what kind of contracts do I need? Do I need a license? And so I called my friends and they pointed me in directions. And then I found you right after inking that first, it wasn't really even a contract. It was like an agreement, right? Of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So I did everything wrong. I did.
We call it wrong.
I did everything. I did everything without a plan or a process or an SOP or a design. Again, just fell into it and kind of learned my way as I went along. And I'm still learning, oh, by the way, and sometimes falling and scraping your knee is the best way to learn, and other times it's like, okay, I've already done that. How can I do that better this time, this next time?
Yeah, and just those of you that are on the chat with us, we have a lot of people in the room with us. Just put in the chat, like, does that resonate with you? Like starting off and being like, I don't know how to charge, like I like even feeling kind of weird about it and coming from that lens of like, can this work? Like, we'd love to see, like, is that resonating with you? Because I feel like that's a lot. And like I said, you're like, oh, it's wrong. It's not really wrong. I feel like it's more of it's a norm that we need to break, but it's a norm that a lot of people kind of feel like from this sector, right? So, and it's okay as well. Like I tell you all, like when your business is functioning and you have your payments coming in and your bills covered, and you can actually like show up 110%, then take on a pro bono client. It's kind of like we work it backwards. And sometimes, yeah, you might need to like your first part is like you could think of it as training because you're going to volunteer for a nonprofit for 3 months just to get the experience. So then you feel more confident in selling. But there's got to be that expiration date. There's got to be that expiration. Yeah, and a lot of people are putting in the chat. It's the hardest part, right? That's the hardest part is like coming from even this mindset and this kind of, okay, now how do I do this, right? How do I do this? So good.
Yeah. I did fundraising before I did grant writing. So it was real clear for me that fundraising, I'm going to get paid a percentage of what I raise. And then I learned I couldn't do that with grants. And I'm like, well, how does that work? I work really well in commission. I like that incentive. And then learned that I couldn't structure things the same way in the grant world. So, well, what do I do and how do I do it? That was a big point to learn.
That's so interesting. Yeah. And I love that you do the fundraising component as well, but that is like very different, right? It can be very different. So what about you, Gwen? What was your biggest challenge then as well?
I think my biggest challenge was that I didn't know anything. Like by the time I found you, I knew how to write a federal grant. I had no idea how to write a foundation grant, and I was terrified. My first client, I've told people a lot, like my first client was a 501c12, and I was like, all right, whatever, it's the same, not the same, not the same. So now I had to, go back to my website and put 501c3, please, because I got my first client and I was so excited because they paid all this money. So I paid for instrumental, and then they don't have 501c12s in there. So I was like, oh my gosh.
You're like, where do I find money for this one specific, right? I remember that. It was like, oh man.
It was
kind
so
of drilling or something. What was it again?
They were a water association, but they had 6,000 water taps.
Mm-hmm.
They were big, but they were filed as a 501c12, which is a ditch, like water from the ditch. It's not like a business. And so, and I kept, and it was a lot of education. So I had to educate them on a lot of things. And, but it was a very big learning curve, just not knowing the nonprofit sector at all. So yeah, like that's where the blessing was, that you have everything organized. And I was confused in the academy for a long time of like what little bucket to go in. And then once I figured it out, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. So yeah, the biggest hurdle was just not knowing anything and not knowing what I didn't know to need to know.
Right.
I didn't know, because all my clients were government. I didn't know anything for the nonprofit world.
And that's what I'm saying. You and D come from like such wildly drastic different backgrounds into this, right? Like you're like, I'm afraid to write a foundation grant. I hear usually the opposite. Like, I know how to write a foundation grant, but federal grants scare me. So
that's I'm always telling people in the academy, like, federal grants are so easy. They tell you exactly what they want. All you have to do is answer the questions. Foundation grants are like, so tell me about yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
What?
Love that. Yeah, it is. It's like depending on your background. And yeah, I'd like to say that too. Federal grants are very usually straightforward, right? So good. So good. So that's, and then you came in and you're like, okay, now I can learn how to write these different. So yours was more from the challenge was more about the actual work, which was, that's actually really interesting to me because you came in with actually quite a bit of grant experience as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been winning grants for years just because I can follow directions.
Yeah. You're like, just here it is. Yeah, but now nobody don't have like, RFP that's like super clear or anything like, oh my gosh, right?
I was writing, 100-page grants back then. And now you get like a 2-page LOI. And I'm like, huh? How? How do you state your case? Like, how do you convince them? There's no time. It's like speed dating.
Yeah, it is. It is. You gotta wow me in 30 seconds, huh? So good. So now that we're looking at this, so when you came in, you guys kind of talked to this a little bit. So if you want to kind of like put this together, these couple of questions together is like, well, for one, like since joining the academy, what has been your biggest result and why? So let's start with Gwen this time.
So I love that because I sat and figured this out. I 13x'd my income. Holy crap. 13x. I know. That was my biggest, I had no idea that I could actually support my family. Because my husband always supported us and I was just made a little money here and there. But I was my goal was always just to make enough money to help with the mortgage, right? Just so he didn't have the biggest bill always on him. And now he just bought a Tesla truck under my business. I just bought myself a little Mini Cooper and he bought a Tesla truck under my business because he's always wanted one. So I was like, okay, I guess we can do that.
That's
So
amazing.
that's my big flex is that he was able to buy his car of his dreams. I was able to buy my car of my dreams. That's pretty cool.
That is
And
cool.
then, so I went from making $900 a month to 12,000 and sometimes I 13x at 12,000, but for a while there I was making 15,000 a month. And I just can't even imagine. I'm always in shock. I'm able to help my mom with she's getting dementia. I'm able to help her. I'm able to help my kids with all their school. My daughter, we're in a hotel, if you can't tell, traveling, we're always in a ninja competition. I'm able to pay for flights rather than having to drive all day. I mean, it's significant, the change. The impact on my life has been significant.
I love that so much. And now so it sounds like you're making more than your husband now.
Yeah. And he could retire. He's at the max of his income.
He's been doing it for, I imagine, many years, right?
Yeah, we've been married 22 or 23 years, and he's been a police officer that whole time.
And he's at the max of that, and you're now after a little over a year?
Right when I started this, we got into a big fight, and I was like, I'm gonna move out. And he was like, you couldn't move out. And I was like, oh, watch me. I just hold my beer.
Right.
I went out on a rampage and I don't move out, but I could at any second of the day, I have the freedom to do whatever I want to do. And that's super powerful.
That is super powerful. And even just on a more somber note, there have been women in this program before that were and I'm not saying anything about your relationship, but just on that note, they were in relationships that weren't the best and they did feel blocked in before, but now that they're freelance grant writers and have that empowerment, the financial empowerment, they have been able to leave abusive situations. I'm not saying anything about your, but they,
but that's what I'm saying is I have the freedom to stay and I have the freedom to leave. I'm not in the position where I'm beholden. I don't have to be nice to anyone. I can be as snarky as I want to be. And I'm like, if you don't like it, there's a door because I can now pay the mortgage. I'm not the one who needs to leave. He's having a different relationship with me now that I'm 55 because I'm also older and I don't really I don't have as much patience for things.
It's like liberated on both fronts. So I love
Please
that.
date again.
You're like, yep. So, but that is so empowering. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that is such a big 82%. We just heard the other day with Rachel Waterman in her presentation, and it's been 82% for the last few years that she's done a survey that are female as freelance grant writers, right? A lot of us are, but that it gives like the freedom, the financial, we can break glass ceilings, even that our partners that our men may have that have already hit their glass ceiling, and we're shattering theirs even. Like, that's cool. I think that's really, really cool.
You've said it a million times, like what women do with their money is amazing, because I'm able to, well, one, I sponsor my kids and all of their sports so they can travel, but I also sponsor their friends so they can travel. When their friends are having a competition, I make sure, like, I'm never the title sponsor because those are always really expensive, but I'm always in the middle. And this last one that I did, like, I was able to sponsor, and then I didn't want to go to like the next level. So I sponsored again at a lower level and put my daughter's name in it. So I was able to like make a bigger impact. And with some of those, I have a whole course on like how to make a nonprofit support your for-profit business, because especially for all these ninja gyms, like specific, like I just think that's a way to leverage
So good.
what you have.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
a lot of for-profits should have never been for-profits, right? They should have really been nonprofits.
I love that. It's so good. So what about you, Dee? What about you? Since joining the academy and you've been, in the mentorship before you came into the academy and all of the things, like what has been like the biggest result?
Well, that's easy because I'm living it right now, as you know, but I'll share with the group. The biggest end result is literally where I am in this moment, my physical presence in Bilbao, Spain. That's where my family and I have just relocated within the past 10 days. We're not even fully relocated yet. Stuff's in customs, and I don't have internet yet and may drop it in
Or Wi-Fi or under your phone data.
Even with all that, I just want to say, honestly, you come to webinars and seminars and you hear like, blah, 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 stories and yeah. I will say this for my family would not have been possible a year and a half or more ago until I started working with you and in the mentorship in the academy. And it wouldn't have been possible because I didn't have the foundation for dependable, consistent remote work. And now I do. I know I'm only in process. I know that I haven't even touched the surface of what I can do working in this program and all the tools that you bring to us. But I know with what I have done, I get to do work anywhere I want with people that I love and missions that I believe in and environments where I choose who I work with and what I do, and mostly when I do it, not totally, but mostly when I do it. And it's work that I enjoy. And I can't look back at any other point in my life and be able to say that every single one of those pieces was in place. It wasn't. Right. And the biggest change is I take time off now. That was the first charge that you gave to us. And Olivia, Portugal is close, so come on over here. You got a place to stay if you want to check it out. I'm serious. It's just, gosh, that's the biggest difference. The biggest difference is choice. And that's been the biggest result. And I haven't even figured out in this short amount of time where I am financially yet. I just know where I was and I know where I'm going, and I know it's way better. And I can't put a number on it like 13 like Gwen can just yet, but I know the consistency that's there and that it's building. Yeah. And I literally physically would not be here doing this now if I hadn't had, the introduction to you back a little over a year ago.
That's so exciting, you guys. And it's neat, is like so different, right? Both of their results so different, but it's the same choice, right? I hear that. It's like very like, okay, I have choice now, right? With this. So I have choice on like, I'm going to support my kids in this way, or I'm going to live in this, I'm going to move countries this way. Like, and, like, that's the thing. It's like when we come into the academy, that's one of the first things I have you all do in business foundations, right? Is to figure out your why. And these are the whys, like the results and the impacts of the why when you do the work, right? So like when you sit down and you do the work and you just kind of like organize it because it's there, just do the plan and then it can get you to that end result. So good. This is good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about We talked about it in your business. So is there anything specific from the academy that you're like, this is a tool or this is a concept or this is a framework that helped me get now? Because everyone's looking at your why and they're all like high-fiving you in the chat right now, but it might still feel like a disconnect. But you're up here on this pedestal living the dream and I'm still here just starting. So can you like just pragmatically, like what are some of the main things that you use? So let's start with you, Dee.
Oh, wow. There's so many. And, for me and how I learn, it's been the combination of some of the things that work synergistically and holistically that I've been exposed to in this community. And that's first, that's number one. Although I do have three, but they're kind of interchangeable. But first is community. My first coach here, Yvonne, was such a welcoming presence. Through her, I learned, plugging in every week, through her, I learned that I can do this. I kept hearing that message over and over. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And at some point I believed her. I didn't believe her at first, but at some point I believed her, and having that welcoming presence, having community, having those of us that are brainstorming together towards an end. So that's number one. And then the next thing is it's you, Holly. It's you model that work and life balance. And I'd never seen that or worked with that before. I certainly had never had a boss or a supervisor or even a mentor really who walked that talk. And again, in my very first assignment, you made us take our calendars out and schedule time off. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. How can I do that? But I'm just going to do it because that's what Holly says to do, right? And I committed to that. And I committed to it just like I would a fundraising or a grant deadline. And I did it. And you know what I learned? I learned that I was not going to die and things would not fall apart if I actually took a break. It was just a 3-day weekend initially. And I'm like, It was revelatory. I came back and I was rested and refreshed and creative and I had ideas and I could follow through just with a little window of rest and perspective. So that was huge. That's two things. Thank you. That's you. And then, the next thing was I'm a person that I work really well in the system. I don't work really well if I have to make things up. I am just not an original thinker. I'm an original creative thinker if I'm in a system. That's where my creativity is unleashed. So having systems and processes and SOPs and a structure for my business, all of which you provide here, continually you're refining and always seeking to make things better. And I love watching that. I really enjoy watching that, bringing greater value to this community. So those three things have worked really synergistically for me in parallel. And I've been able to expand. I've not been able to. I've just expanded personally and professionally through having those three things together. I don't think any one by itself would have worked for me, but those three things together work for me. And here's another thing that works for me in this community. And that is we're hands-on. There's the visuals, and I'm a visual and kinesthetic learner, but it's the visuals plus the training materials, plus actually putting those in action together and getting feedback and moving forward together. It's not theory. It's roll up our sleeves, get busy, get to work, and the power of shared experience, because I can fall and somebody else has a story about falling too, and I don't feel so bad and I can get back up. Or I can fall and somebody says, oh yeah, I did that too. And now I'm here. I'm like, oh wow, I really revere what you've done in your business and you did this too. Well, maybe I'll be okay. It's the value of shared experience, which takes me back to community. It's the whole thing.
Yeah, I was just hearing that full circle too. I was like, that's so cool. Because you're like, this is synergetic. And I'm like, yeah, it is. I love that. So yeah, community, vacation, learning from a mentor, and really having that the systems in place that aren't just theory, but you're getting live feedback and having that brought back up into community. And what about you, Gwen? What are the top 1 to 3 things that have really been helpful in the academy tangibly for you in your business?
So funny because it's similar, of course, because I feel like what I wrote down were the systems, the support, and the community. Like those are the things that, like, having the systems, because I knew how to write grants, but I didn't know, I never had written a master grant template before. And that felt revolutionary to me, right? I felt like I could do anything with a master grant template at my hand. I could write anything possible. So I loved that. And the support, of course, like Coach Yvonne, she made everything seem okay. Like everything was going to be okay, no matter what. Like even if I submitted something and it was trash, like she was like, it's okay. You're going to be fine. I just implement these couple of things and rewrite that. So she was always very gentle and supportive. And the community in the academy was just bar none. Like I've made such good friends, lifelong friends in the academy that, you know, we're still like super tight. Like who's going to this conference? Who's going to that conference? So we have to go meet in real life. We can't just like be on Zoom forever. So like we want to, you know, so like that's a lot because most of us in grant writing don't have a community. We're stuck in a silo by ourselves or in like, God forbid, an office. Like I don't want to be in an office. Like, you know, I'm stuck in my little, like usually I'm on my couch, like most of you know, we've all seen my living room, but you know, nobody understands. They'll be like, what are you doing? I'm like, writing a grant. And they're like, oh, well, can you do this? Or can you do that? And I'm like, no, my brain is on fire. I can't do anything but write this grant. And they don't get it. But here, if you say my brain is on fire, everybody's like, mine too. Yes, mine too. Step away. You'll be fine.
Like celebrating, like I just want, you know, even that first $5,000 grant for a client, everyone's like, oh, okay, that's great. What are we having for dinner?
Yeah, nobody cares here. Nobody cares. They just want to know, like, you know, what's in it for them.
They're like, yes,
We
right.
can't conceptualize it. Like my daughter is in school for nuclear engineering, and I'm just like, I can't even say the words that you study. So that I'm no help to her either. So like they're not trying to be bad, but it's just like nobody gets it. But here, everybody gets it, and everybody can celebrate, commiserate, brainstorm with you. Like I remember like when it was time to renew, and I was just like, well, I can't leave here. I can't leave the academy because everybody I know is in, like all my friends are here. So yeah, like it's been, and at least like when I went to mentorship, my friends were also in there. So I was like, oh, like, it's not like walking into a new day of school. Like it's everybody kind of graduated together and went to college.
I love that so much. Yeah, and that's just been so like community's been helpful. And you also mentioned like systems. Was there a certain framework or anything that has been helpful for your business?
The business systems. And I tell people all the time in coaching, like, don't skip the business. If this is a new business to you, don't skip the business because I mean, I had a business kind of because I had to like get paid on a 1099, but I didn't have a system in place. I didn't have a contract. I just signed whatever anybody sent me. Like I didn't know that I could argue it. I didn't have somebody that could look at it and be like, oh, you're about to, you know, you're going to be in trouble. I didn't know what errors and omissions meant. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I didn't know how to protect myself. And so most of the advice I give in the academy is because it was a pitfall I fell into and had to dig out of. And the systems, hands down, like made it so much easier to go step one, step two. And I'm very like, I need a checklist. If I have a checklist, I can get anything done. So with a check, like everything that you did just helped so much. And then I was confident, right? When I presented my contract, I was confident because I had knowledge behind it. It wasn't just me coming, like you didn't say, build a contract. You said, here's a sample, here's why these parts are in it, and it made sense. So of course it doesn't look the same as it did a year and a half ago, but only because I got more knowledge.
Yeah.
But it definitely, everything was a place to start.
And I love that because we do go behind, like I'm like always like we're providing these templates for people, but I don't want them just to like without knowledge copy and paste them. And I think even reviews, that's where you're like, you didn't really understand the teaching though. There's also a little video with that. Watch the video because to understand it. And when you come at it from understanding and then using a template and applying it, then there's the confidence and like the ownership behind it. And that's what's powerful. Because otherwise y'all could just like get anything off the internet and use it. But why you get it in here is because it's specific for grant writers and there's training behind how to use it. Right. So I like that you kind of bring that up. Like you
the biggest value I ever got from here is just the access to you that I've joined way more expensive communities and, you know, and usually it's just videos, which is great. Like that's honestly, that's all I thought I was going to get in this community. I didn't know how much access I was going to get. And I was just shocked that you would come on the calls on Tuesday and you would do the feedback and it would be you on the video or like, I didn't know, I didn't even understand when I started that I would get unlimited reviews. Like that was insane to me. And I always push that. I'm always saying that because I'm like, that is worth the cost of the academy. If you did nothing else, like that is worth the cost of the academy. And why wouldn't you then? That's like hiring the little tiniest part-time employee ever to work a huge part of your business, to be your editor, to be your reviewer. Like, I don't know. I was shocked. I was just so shocked. And I think I was at the end of the academy when I got it that I could just keep putting them in.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, everybody do this.
I love that so much. Yeah, yeah. So having that feedback, the community again, super helpful. And then just like applying the business concepts, like actually learning them and doing it. And then taking advantage of the feedback, right? Like the feedback is good. So that kind of like leads me into a segue then, as we're like kind of wrapping this up before we go into our breakout sessions with the group is, and open it up to the floor for some questions for you all, is also as a coach now, you guys are both coaches in the program, you know, so you went from going through the program to then being a coach. And we love hiring from within because of this, because they know it, they've been through it, we know it, right? And so now, what have you seen where, okay, so let's talk about two things. What are 1 to 2 things that you're seeing that were students like, you're like, ooh, they only did this. So maybe where you could see room for improvement. And then where are you seeing 1 to 2 things for like, they're kicking ass, like they're succeeding. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so just so people can hear like, okay, maybe I don't even know about this thing that's out there, right? Like you didn't even know like, oh my gosh, there's this really, because there's so much in here. So as a coach, let's start with you, Gwen, like where are you seeing like maybe people like not picking up what they do, what they could have, and then also exceeding?
Well, I do see people not using the reviews as much as they could. Whether the business reviews, the grant reviews, even the private reviews now, that's really cool. I think because I see the same people over and over and over. And so there's like, I would say 20%, maybe less, I don't know, of people that are actually utilizing the program. And then all these other people, like if they would, we could help them, right? We could really genuinely help them, even if it's too late, because I know I saw something the other day and it was like, oh, I had to send this in by today or whatever. And I was like, still send it to us, because if you don't get funded, then you could always use our feedback to hopefully get funded the next time, or a similar application or something like that. And I just feel like people don't use the reviews as often as they should.
And where are you seeing people come in and start to get clients and, you know, all of that kind of thing? Like, what do you think that they're utilizing?
I think once they get enough coaching, because the biggest thing I see with people are like the fear, right? Because they're not sure what to do, the fear of the uncertainty, fear of pricing, fear of rejection, all of that. But once they're in the academy and they're with the community, they're like, everybody's kind of charging the same, everybody's kind of offering the same prices, and really like setting the standard of like we're really changing grant writing professions across the nation, across the world, because we're saying like this is what we're worth and we're not settling for less. And if we're all saying that, then it's so good, right? So if we're all saying like, yeah, we can start lower when we start, but that's an introductory price, and we all need to learn those words.
So good. I love that. Yeah. So like coming in and just being a part of the community and like too, like, you know, yes, you might have fear sometimes. Oh my gosh, I don't want to get bad feedback. Like there's a thing, right? Like, it feels like school. Like I don't want the red pen, but it's okay. We're gentle. You're gentle with you.
The red pen is just to help you get the, you know, the win on the other end. It's not like some of them, we have to dig for some of that red ink, but we, you know, if we can tell you what we see, then the reviewer definitely sees it, right? The reviewer is definitely going to see it. So if they see inconsistencies or they see anything we see, they're definitely going to see, because they're so familiar with their programs.
Right.
So anything we give you is just to help you. Like it's never to make you feel bad. It's never to make you feel less. It's always to say, fix these so you look like a rock star to your client. It is not to like, you know, because I remember my first review from you, you were like, I don't know what FTC is. I don't know what any of the first is. And I was like, well, how do you not, like, it's my whole world. How do you not know this? So it never connected to me not to use acronyms when it's so common in my world. And so that's the first thing I pick up on every application. I'm like, okay, I don't see the spelling of what this is. Like, make sure you put that in there, because it was so powerful for me. And this is like a year and a half later, and I can hear your voice saying it.
Yeah, because sometimes my feedback, it might not sound gentle, let's be real. Because I'm like, okay, do this, and that, da, 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 da. But it's like a place of love.
Yes, we're
Place of
coming
love.
definitely from the place of love, because we're like, don't send this in like this because it's not going to make sense, or it's not this, or it's, like, it's always just to help. Always. I definitely felt that when I was in the academy.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. So what about you, Dee? Where do you feel like people might not be knowing what to do, or like what's really working for them?
Yeah, you said where we get hung up. You said the word fear, and that triggered something for me. It's like one thing, but it has several different heads, like a hydra or a Medusa, right? It's letting the perfect get in the way of taking one step forward with something new. And I'm saying this out loud because I need to hear it, so it's probably all projection, but it's like, get it out there. And I mean, here we have this community here, so make mistakes, use Slack, use the review cues, like Coach Gwen said, get the feedback, because you're going to get encouragement along with that. We're not going to, you can tell the three of us, we're not going to slap somebody down. We're going to say, hey, this could make it even better. And wow, this is great here, here, here. You've got so much going for you. And it's all true. We're not making it up, right? We're just all on the forward path together. And that's what I really see, is that when you see others and what they're doing, and when you get feedback and you say, okay, I'm a little scared to take this step, but I'm going to take the step anyway, because I know I'm going to get support. I know I'm going to encounter people that support me, like Yvonne supported us when we came in. We're going to get yeses, and we're going to get encouragement. And that means I can do this. I can grow in my craft. I can get better. And I absolutely have the support to be able to do that. So that's the one thing that I see, is I think most of us, maybe all of us, are just a little hesitant to step out there. And I'm saying, step out there. It's okay. If you're going to run into some friendly folks that are going to help you along the way. And when you don't know how to do something, and I even see folks that have folks in the academy that have a lot of experience in one area or another, and they still have this. We each still have this. It's like, I'm just a little shy to put myself out there, but this is the place to do it, because it's friendly and supportive. And I know I'm going to encounter that, and that's what I want to give. That's what I got when I came in here. That's what I continually get from everyone that I work with in this community. And so, of course, that's what I want to give. That's what I want to model. So put it out there. Let's see it. Come on, let's get it better, and make it better, and help everyone prosper. That's
and what's so cool about that too is, like when Glenn was saying about you guys are seeing, we see probably, I think you're right, probably about 20% of the people keep getting repeat reviews. So I think once you get your first one and you're like, that wasn't so bad, then it's like you'll do it again. So I think there's something to that as well, right? That's kind of like
one.
Yeah, you just gotta put one in, or come to a call, ask a question, and then you're more confident to come back and ask another question. Or if you put one question in Slack, then we see like same thing. It's like a lot of the same people, because I think once you start getting more comfortable, right, out there. And we just want to encourage you all too. Like if people are posting in Slack and you haven't really seen their name before, give them an emoji, send them some love, like make them feel supported as well, right? We're all here together. Everyone has our own fears, even as adults, right? We do. So good. This is such a good panel. So thank you so much, both of you, for coming on and just sharing your journey. And I also want to do, as this is our Cultivating Community, we have our sharing our spotlights today. Now we're going to also move into our networking session. But before we do that, I just wanted to take like 1 to 2 minutes. Does anyone have specific questions for Gwen or Dee that they want to put in the chat right now? And I'm just going to open it up. Any specific questions? We could just take 1 or 2. And if not, that's okay too, because we're gonna kind of talk about that. Why did you become a coach? Oh, why did you become a coach? Okay. And was helpful to hear. Yeah, it was helpful to hear. So let's just take, maybe a minute for each of you. Why'd you become a coach? Let's start with Dee.
Yeah, I may not be able to get through this because it's an emotional thing for me. And that is, when I came in, I encountered such love. and such unconditional support that I wanted to model that and give that back. So when you asked for us to apply, I thought, I want to do that. I may not have the technical knowledge here. There's a lot I need to learn. I'm really experienced in this area, but I don't know anything in this area at all over here. I'm probably not ready yet, but I just want to say that I'm going to be here to be of support. And that's it.
Oh, thank you, Dee. You're making me cry now. I'm like, oh, I love that so much. And you have been like, look at how much Dee has given to this community. Like, amazing, amazing. What about you? What was your choice to become a coach?
I think when you asked us if people in the academy to apply, I was like, wow, that's a whole other level of knowledge. And I just wanted to know as much as I could know. Like, I always like learning. I always like finding out new ways, and I don't have a community where I can share that. So I have a lot of random knowledge about a lot of random things. And this gives me an opportunity to share that with people that, I don't have anybody in my community to share it with. And it was really cool because about the time you did that, my main job, my anchor client, they hired 4 new grant writers and none of them had any experience. So I was able to train all of them as like an additional service to be like, yes, I can help them too. And so that was really huge, getting them systems and helping them figure out what comes first. And now our company that used to just be solid federal grants and state grants, we're helping nonprofits now where they never had in all these millions of years that they've been around. So like, I love sharing anything I have. And I always tell everybody, like, I am not a gatekeeper. If you see me have it, ask me for it or copy it or whatever, because I just love to share everything.
I love that so much. So like getting more knowledge. And then was it also nice to see like how we did our training systems then? Was it helpful when you were doing your training system as well?
Yeah, I was able to piecemeal it out instead of just being like, here's how you do it. Just go do it. And so now they're starting to win their first grants, which is really powerful. And they're able to go into meetings and host meetings and feel confident. And they send me like, hey, I have this Boys and Girls Club. We need this and this. Can you send me some grants? And I'm like, sure. And I pull it up on Instrumental and I send it over to them.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for today. I will see you back inside Slack and inside the Academy. Have a wonderful evening.